guys have any questions, please put your hands up and I will pick you out from the audience. Do you have any questions? Yes.
For me, the Charities Act always seemed to sort of forget in its provision the 1994 Education Act and ramifications to do with students' unions. To what extent do you think being elected as a trustee gives you a mandate for change?
Can we start, please, with Joe and move?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Basically, to what extent do you think being elected as a trustee gives you a mandate for change?
As a trustee, I think it's more of a representational role. I don't know the in or outs of the two things you mentioned, to be honest with you. Yeah, representational role. You guys, at the end of the day, are voting. It's a panel of 12. It's not just the 4 of us that you're voting from us. So, I mean, we're getting the vote from people, so that I think that's the mandate there, if it's what the consensus of what people want, basically.
I think it depends mainly on what sort of change you're talking about. I mean, in terms of overall policy, I think that does have to be set by council, by AGM, by referenda, etc. But on the operational side, I think it is important that trustees do have the power to change things, because ultimately they're the people who are responsible.
I think that it depends very much what level you take it on. Obviously, the SABs do an excellent job of running things day to day, and they do a lot of things that could change the DSU. But I think that being a trustee helps to shape this, like the strategic direction that we take it in. And I think that I've got a mandate to represent your views and for our union for the change that you want. So if you guys want to change, then we've got a mandate for change. But it's important to remember it's at a different level from that of the SABs that you're voting for as well.
Yeah, well, same kind of idea really. So within the remit of our role, sort of financial, legal, strategic responsibility, we're there to make sure that the organisation is solvent, is successful and promotes the needs of students as best it can. So it's up to us to make decisions. If change is necessary, then that has to be done to promote an organisation like that. As far as representation and policies, things like that, again, something the council has to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trustee will definitely have an ability to change things, but only, again, if the students want it. And I think, if you look at the charity status of the DSU, for example, and something that really affects our legality as an organisation, then I think that's something we absolutely have a right to look at and change, but only if, say, council tells us to, or if we feel that it's in the benefits of the students of the university.
Excellent. Any more questions, please?
You guys talk a lot about the students and representing the student views. Whereabouts would you look to actually get those student views from? Like what kind of methods would you use to achieve that?
Can we go from Lauren and then Adam across from that?
Okay, I think I mentioned it a little bit in my host, but I think it's very important that we get your views. So I'd set up like a little feedback email box on the website where you guys, I know how much time we spend online, on Facebook, etc. So it's something that's really easy for people to just, even if you dash off a few quick sentences, something like that. And then I'd also look at every term or every quarter at holding meetings, like forums, where people don't have to turn up. If people don't turn up, great, I can go to the bar. But somewhere where you guys know that I will be on a set date every term, so that I can hear your views.
I think certainly email and forums, as she said, are a great way to go about it, and Facebook as well, of course. But I think also council can play a big role in this, because obviously that's where most of the representation gets done in the union. And if you're regularly attending council, then you get an idea of what students think, even if it is through the representatives.
Again, council is where sort of everything gets discussed and whatnot, plus the SABs officers as well. At the end of the day, they know their fields sort of perfectly, so they can feed back, plus they're on the trustee board anyway, so they'll be feeding back through there.
Yeah, everything that's been said before is absolutely true, I think, especially council. I was recently inspired, though, by Chad's Bar, who had this amazing Facebook group where you can suggest beers, and obviously that's a rather small thing, but I think Facebook, if it's used properly, can actually make a really big difference. And there was a website where people could write their views in just very simple, short sentences. Not simple, I mean, you were very literate, but it's just a quick way to really represent the views. And I think it's worked for Chad's Bar, and I think that's very smart. I think actually the same thing, perhaps use a bigger version, something like that could actually be really effective.
Well, pretty much everything's been gone through. As I said already, we managed to set up this email address this year, which means we're directly contactable, monitored by the student trustees, and we can take that forward. We've also got the Facebook group set up, and the AGM being a key point of contact for us as well. The SABs are obviously the day-to-day points of contact for getting to the trustee board, One thing probably to bear in mind that within our role, obviously a lot of the decisions that we have to make have to be made as an entire board of people. We've had many discussions about this already, sort of the difficulties of individuals talking to sort of the student body. So I think it is really important that a lot of stuff comes up from council to us as a whole, rather than individual trustees going out and sort of getting the temptation to work on their own.
Excellent. Any more questions?
It's all very well and good being known as a picture on a Facebook profile or being known by sites of council, but how do you make yourself known to the wider student body who don't come to council or don't join the groups on Facebook?
Mike first, then Andrew now.
It is difficult. Again, the main point of our role is to be there and to make these strategic decisions. And we have to sort of take what's sort of the general views that do come up through these channels like council. It's a great idea to try and be in contact with every single member of the student body individually, but that's something that's physically impossible to do. So I think the SABs, particularly at the beginning, all freshers are sort of introduced to SABs, they go around and do their talks, so they know that they're there, they're quite visible within DSU and they are approachable people. So that has to be the way that things come to us, but again, like I said, it is difficult for us to sort of be one-on-one with students with the risks of going and working on our own without getting full approval from the whole board.
Yeah, I mean, I think the website is actually a particularly underused tool, actually. I mean, I think it's a good website, but I don't think students really use it enough, and perhaps we could try and advertise it a bit better, because there's a lot of useful information on it, apart from who the student trustees are. But I think that would be a good way of getting us known, and I think there's a lot of good information. I think just really spreading the word about it, because there's so much stuff on it, and I think, particularly as a point of contact for the student trustees to the students as well.
What's been said basically, at the end of the day, council, all you guys represent the colleges and everyone knows who to contact in the college, so everything can be fed back through council. I'd like to think I'm approachable, so if anyone out there did want to find me, or just send me an email and go and meet them or something like that. But at the end of the day, we've got the SAB officers, we've got the senior DSU reps, they can feed everything back through to us.
I think as has already been said, I think there's only so much you can do. I mean, you can give people the chance to contact you. You can put out your email address, set up Facebook groups, all these sorts of things, start forums. But if people aren't going to turn up or email you, then there's not much you can do except just keep trying to push it out there and hope people do start turning up. I mean, you can only go so far and then they have to come to you.
I'd say it's very important to remember, like, we're not the SABs and we're there to represent a very different type of view to a very different organisation at a different level. But I would say, like you mentioned, Facebook, it's just a Facebook group. I know it's my most visited website, possibly shouldn't admit to that, but it's my most visited website. I just think that we need to publicise stuff like that more, stuff that people don't have to go out of their way to do, stuff that's integrated into their daily routine, their daily lives. I know that as a history student I have to spend a lot of time in the library, maybe publicising stuff there and in other places that people go. Just if you have even like posters at Revolver and stuff like that, if you just if it's always conscious in people's mind and it's just everywhere, then when they do need to talk to a trustee, when they need to know where to go, then it'll be in the back of their mind and it'll kind of click. So I think that we need to publicise what we have a lot more and spread it out. I think the DSU trustee group, it definitely has nowhere near as many members as there are Durham students. So I think that we really need to push that so that when people need to know where to go, that it's something that's not scary to them, it's not very strange, and it's something that they can integrate very easily, just dash off a few lines on a Facebook wall.
Excellent, thank you.